My name is Melanie Weller, and I want to talk to you a little bit about critical angles in the body and some angles that I have some interesting synchronicities with the tilt of the Earth, which is currently 23.5 degrees. And I first started looking into this when I learned that mythology was a mode of transmitting scientific information, and that all of the numbers in the Earth's precessional cycle are in the myth of Osiris and Isis and in some other major myths from other cultures, and that mythology was a way that they transmitted the cosmology back then. But I'm just going to give you a short presentation here on some of the most interesting angles that I have run across in this. And so this is looking at a skull from the underside. And I've looked at a number of real skulls, and in all of my anatomy books, if I measure from the center of the foramen magnum to the jugular foramen, so this angle right here, 23.5 degrees always crosses it, bisects the jugular foramen here, which is where your vagus nerve exits the base of your skull, and why that's of significant interest to me. And certainly I know many practitioners that know how to decompress the vagus nerve at the jugular foramen, and they would say that it's like putting somebody back on their axis. It's a very, very powerful technique. Some other interesting synchronicities are that the normal rotation at your C1, C2 vertebrae is 47 degrees to each side. And so clinically, I would test that by flexing the head up and rotating it to one side and then to the other to see how far that goes. And when people are really stuck there, they often go less than 20 degrees, and some really less than 10 when it's a severe problem. And that goes very often with headache and dizziness issues. The anterior cruciate ligament sits at 47 degrees as well. And so, and I think it's interesting between just a preponderance of upper neck issues such as dizziness and headaches and anterior cruciate ligament issues that these angles intersect with those diagnoses, because there's certainly diagnoses for which a lot of people end up going to the doctor. The other angle is the subtalar axis and the transverse plane. So the way your ankle moves sideways, or like in a rotational way, like in your rotational plane, which would be like this, is 23 degrees. A couple other angles that I've run across is that the average left tracheobronchial angle is 47 degrees. And in my anatomy books, and this is something that I haven't been able to confirm, but the angle from where your aorta and inferior vena cava split in your abdomen to where your kidneys were, to the indentation in your kidneys, which is called the hilum, is 23.5 degrees in all of my anatomy books. And so I will tell you in general, just speaking for the orthopedic aspects of it, particularly the jugular foramen dysfunction, C1, C2 rotation, I'll say tibial rotation for the anterior cruciate ligament piece, because I always look at tibial rotation in my patients, and the subtalar axis, that when these things are not right, there are many things not right in the body. And so I think that the more these angles are right, the healthier we are and the better we feel and the lower our injury risk is. One of the real skulls I looked at had actually a very asymmetric look to it. And at that point, I really wished I knew this person's medical history, because I just think that it was as if like he had one jugular foramen here and one was like up here or down here. Like they were very, very different angles, right to left. And all I could think is that he just did not feel, or she did not feel good while they were alive. So I think that there are these really critical angles. And I think that the closer these critical angles are to 23.5 degrees or a multiple thereof, the healthier we are, because there is always a physical expression of your internal narrative and an internal expression of your physical narrative. And in the way that we are all literally made of stardust and fractals of the cosmos, I think these critical angles can really show us very specifically how that happens and where we could really improve our alignment. Oh, and I have one more slide that I didn't show you. So if you want to follow me on social media, all of my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is Embody Your Star. And feel free to go to my website. I'm updating it right now, so there'll be a new website soon. And you can also email me at ask@melanieweller.com. Thank you for listening.